Hi and welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. I'm thrilled to be part of Scrapbook.com's affiliation programme, and today I have a launch project to share with you. If you haven't ever watched a video here at Hedgehog Hollow, welcome, take a look around, and you'll always find there's a linked blog post hyperlinked below the video where you can find out about the supplies we've used, see some close-up videos, as well as some extra tips and techniques. So you all know I love a good shaker card or a box, and today I've come up with another new idea for you of a shaker frame. I have used my Waffle flower lacy squares and this lovely envelope line in the middle here with my ombre pads, and we've made this beautiful frame that shakes all around your card. So let's get started. So now I can show you my concept in a little bit more detail. This is the lovely shaker frame which I put some purple sequins in, and this was just the first one I made as a concept. We're going to make the card together, which is slightly different to how we normally do it. This really does look quite complicated to get all these layers and things on there and to make this frame, but the dies we're going to use make it super easy. They do all the work for you. And then the middle one here you can see has these lovely pricked lacy layers in too. So let's move this to the side while we make it. Now I've made a card base out of some thick craft cardstock, so this is just a natural coloured cardstock, and it's pretty heavy duty. It's something I've had for quite a long time, and I do recommend something slightly thicker. Again, I'll link to a recommendation of mine in the blog post. This piece is 11 inches long and 5.5 inches wide, which will fit nicely with the dimension in a 6x6 envelope. So we'll pop that to the side till later. And I've taken this lovely, beautiful royal purple cardstock here, and we're going to be using the Waffle flower lacy squares, which are here. So when they come, you have, let's just put them back in order for you. So you have this circle in the middle with the square, and then they build up like this. And this is what gave me the idea to be able to do a shaker frame, because these all nest so nicely together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these four, you can leave those two but it's still in the packet for now, and we're going to layer them onto this lovely purple colour. So first of all we're going to start with some Post-it tape, and I pre-cut myself some pieces here, so I'm just going to stick this on the edge to keep it down. And then we're going to build up with this scallop here, and I'm going to put that as best as I can in the middle. In hindsight, I wouldn't have snipped these dies apart because they were beautifully even all the way around. So if this is something you want to do with those dies, then just snip out the middle ones. You don't need to do it like this. Then we're going to start with this stitch square. And this one you don't have to worry so much about the placement because they're going to create some different layers, which I'll show you in a moment. And then this one, again, we want reasonably central. And this is just some Post-it tape that I'll leave the link in the blog post too. Right, so I have my vagabond plates over here. I'll just grab those. And I'm just going to pop this on here as carefully as I can. And we're going to put this through, I have the Vagabond machine. If you're interested in the Vagabond machine, I have done a post this past weekend on my thoughts of my Vagabond. So I will link that in the blog post as well if you are interested to see about electronic die cutters. So that's the first one. Then I have also, let's take our Post-its off of here. Be reasonably careful. And now we can cut out our next layers. So this will give us all the frames we require. And the Post-it tape will not mark your cardstock, just slow and steady. So we'll pick this up very gently. And it won't do any damage to your dies either. It's just like Post-it notes, but it's tape all over, just with that semi-permanent adhesive. So I'm just going to pop these out. So this is your larger frame for your square, which we'll pop to the side. This next layer is lovely. You can, I've kept all of mine. You can keep this for later, but you don't need it for this card. This central piece, again, you don't need it, but it is beautiful with that lacy pricked detail in it, so I would recommend keeping. And then we're going to keep this second frame for our shaker. Now you also need to cut this smaller square out of some white stamping cardstock, which I've pre-done ready. And you also need to cut this larger square out of some acetate. So this is just some quite thick projection film I'd buy. I will leave you a link to that as well. This piece is 5.5 inch square, and that just gives me a nice lot of room to be able to cut out. So I'm going to just use a piece of Post-it because it won't do any damage, and it just stops my die sliding around while I move my plate back into the vagabond. My plates are a little warped, hence the cracks as they go through. That's a sign I need some new ones. But we will pop this out of here. And you also want to cut out your middle square. Let me show you what I mean. So also going to cut out this square. And what I suggest, I found the easiest way was to line it up using this. You will feel this kind of click in. It's a bit of a tactile thing, so it's a little bit harder to explain. And you can just leave it there while you cut. So we're just going to put that through our vagabond as well. And that is all the pieces that we're going to need. So you can keep this piece. It's really pretty the way that it pricks out still on the acetate. I'm sure we can find some uses for that. So I'm going to now peel off this tape and we can then start assembly. As I say, it's one of those cards that looks far more complicated than it is. So it will give the wow factor. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stick down our frames. And I'm just going to use a little bit of tape. And I've got a runner here, and this for me sticks absolutely fine on acetate. I've not had any lifting issues. And we want to line this up with the cutout we made in the acetate, like so. And now we're going to stick down our larger frame as well in exactly the same way. We can just run some tape down. And we're going to stick this to the outer edge. So I recommend starting at one corner, like this, and then working to the other corner, and then just keep working your way around until you have all four corners stuck down, and then you can give it some pressure. And the next thing we are going to do is we're going to put our foam tape on here. So these are some foam strips that I'm going to use for my shaker card, and I'm going to use a pair of sharp snips. Now, when you put your foam strips down, I would recommend with your first one, leave a bit of a gap where your last one will come in. It'll be much easier to snip. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So I'm going to pull up one. So butt that right up so your sequins won't fall out, or glitter, or whatever you want to put inside of your shaker. There are lots of options. Just make sure they do butt up together. And you can use these shorter pieces. I use them up on some of the longer sides usually. I just put a few of them together. But just for speed in a video, I tend to go just with complete pieces. So here you can see I butt it up right here. And then when I go down here, I can butt it up and I can go slightly over, and it's really easy to snip. So again, I'm going to go short there, long at this end. Butt it up there, long at this end, butt it up there. And these are how you use out some of the smaller pieces. just butt them up along here. And we'll have a long one for the end. So I'm going to butt that up along there and along here. Make sure that's snug against there, and then just snip your end off. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use this embossing powder from EK Success that has a little brush top on it like this. And I'm going to give it a good shake before I start, and I'm going to get into all those crevices. Now this, if you make sure, if your foam tape moves, just give it a push down. This will make sure, or it tries to make sure, that none of your sequins stick to the edge of the foam tape. And also go over the acetate piece, because it will take away as much static as we can at this point. It's also worth having a little dust over your card base like this. I think I've got some glue down there, I keep sticking to my table. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off all the foam strips apart from one side. So I'm going to leave this side, but you want to take off all the other foam strip covers. Just work your way around and leave this last one, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick this down centrally on our card base, like so. So that's our shaker frame. Now by leaving this side open for now, we can put our sequins inside. If we put our sequins on and then try to put the card base on top like this, it's really hard to get it centered. So this is how I tend to do it. So I have these beautiful purpley sequins that I've bought. And what I'm going to do is I tend to put them, grab this out my drawer. This is just a Q-tip top. I put them in here, or in a painter's palette, just something that keeps them on my desktop, like so. So what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle them, and then I'm just tipping them so that they go down the sides. And put in a few at a time. If you put in too many at once, you'll get areas that are just far too thick. No, I'm just putting them in, and you can see I'm just allowing them to go round some down of each side until I'm happy with the amount of sequins in there. Now they all will go down to the bottom for now, but you don't put too many in. It is a bit of a fine balance, shaker cards. As to not getting too many in, but at the same time you don't want it too thinly spread. I think we'll just have a few more in there. And this may look a little bit cat-handed, I suppose, if you're watching me do it, but it's much, much easier than trying to put them in and then peel the foam strips off. You end up making a huge amount of mess, or at least I do. I find that doing it this way and leaving one open seam, as though I was sewing a cushion and trying to stuff it or anything like that. Maybe just a couple more, and then we'll seal it up. So you can just see me feeding these in here. Okay, I think that should just about be a nice amount. So make sure they're well out the way of the foam strip. You can just quite easily get your finger in there and pull out this piece, and then give it a nice firm push down. And that's our shaker frame all sealed up. If you get anywhere that sticks, give them a good tap, and you will find that with a little bit of persuasion, sometimes even on the tabletop, they will all start moving again. And you can see there we've got this lovely purple frame. And there we go. So now we're ready to do our central piece. I'll move these out the way and I'll tip them back in later. And for that, I'm going to take that lovely white piece that we cut out earlier. I'm going to take my Misty, and I'm going to pop this inside. For this, I chose to use the Enveloper Choice stump set. I think this line and this is absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure how well, she's a little bit big, so we'll stick with the lion because I can't fit the little cat in there. And then what I'm going to do is just add even more splashes of colour. You can see I used my ombre ink pad, and I'm just going to make sure that doesn't move. So this is the Neon Ombre ink pad. Now when I saw neon I was slightly concerned, as you may be too. It says a graduation of bold and bright ink. It's red to purple. I would call it more of a pinky colour, but I think it's absolutely beautiful. So what we do, smooth as you can see it. So first of all, I'm going to start by inking up just normally, like we would with an ombre pad. And then I'm going to tilt it so that we can get the extra ink on this side and the extra ink on this side. So what I do is when I'm stamping it, I'm just tilting it each way so that I can get the extended red and purple. Then we can stamp it down. Now this is quite a bold image, so if you have to go back a couple of times, you can see the central area here could do with some extra work. So we'll go back in with our pinks. And we'll go in once more as well. I'm just going to be quite firm with this to make sure we get that ink in the middle. Try it like that. There we go. So there's some lovely depths of colour. You can see that graduation from purple through to the reddy pink, which is lovely. So I'm just going to give my lion a wipe over with my stamp chamois, just so I don't put the ink everywhere. Like that. And we'll put this to the side for just a moment. Okay, so now we can finish off our card. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop some tape on the back of our lion. And it will very nicely, because it's cut out of the same piece, it will slot in here. And I just suggest just very gently kind of plying it in. And then you can push it down once you're ready with it. Let's put the lid back on my ink pad because I have. And I'm just going to use the base of my powder to push it in. And that is your finished shaker card. So you can see here we have all our sequins moving round our lion. There's also some beautiful sentiments that come with this set. So you could go for a miss you, friends with flowers, love always, I choose you, or there's some other beautiful sentiments that are available from Waffle Flower. And that is our finished shaker card. So I hope you enjoyed something completely new. As I say, I can't find these anywhere online when I had the idea. So hopefully it's something new for you to try. Be sure to check out the linked blog post for all the supplies that I used and some special giveaways on the day as well. Happy stamping, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.